The Northman is here and it is glorious. Hi, my name's Stu and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. It's finally here. I've mentioned it in a few videos in the past few weeks. The Northman, Robert Eggers' new film. If you're not familiar with him, he did only two films previously, The Witch and The Lighthouse. I have reviewed both of them for the channel. I'll leave a link to both of them at the end of this video. The Witch I actually only saw recently because I was kind of hyped for this new film, The Northman. And I will say straight off the bat, if you're expecting, because you're familiar with those two films, something more of the same, I mean not that the two films are the same, but they do sort of dip into horror-esque things and they feel very, very strange, but in a good way. You know, they're very interesting films, very unusual films. This isn't quite that in that way. You know, I don't feel I mean, there are some very creepy things in this, but not quite so much horror as in the other ones. I have said that The Witch, for instance, or The Lighthouse, they don't feel like true horror films in that sense. You know, they're not out there to scare you. You feel very unsettled by them, without a doubt. But they don't feel like outright horror to me. This one feels even less so. And he himself, Robert Eggers, has said, you know, this is his most mainstream film. I fully agree. Does not mean this is a popcorn flick, you know, a typical summer action-y blockbuster type thing. Far from it. I really enjoy it. It's like if we take two things and sort of mash them together. So you've got Robert Eggers, who is a very unique filmmaker. He has got a very interesting style and just way of telling stories. And then you've got this, what would usually be a rather blockbustery thing, nearly, and you know, and you put the two together and the result is incredible because we've got the kind of really epic tale, but it doesn't feel like it's dumbed down or, you know, we just get a lot of action mindless or something like that. You know, it really is good. But what is it about? Because the title, The Northman, doesn't tell you much. If you've seen the poster, you will know that Alexander Skarsgård is on it, you know, blood-drenched, six-pack. It looks very frightening in that sense. What we have here is a revenge tale. So I didn't know this going in because I'm not a Shakespearean guy in that. I haven't read Shakespeare. I know that might be a shock to some people. I just never felt like doing it, I'll be honest. You know, I might actually enjoy it a lot. I just have never felt like it. And nowadays, I don't know, I'm not big on books because I find it really hard to get time to read one. Although I do enjoy reading. But anyway, eventually, hopefully I'll get there. Why am I talking about Shakespeare? Because this film is actually about the Norse tale which Hamlet was based on. So that is quite interesting, and to me it was fine while I know tidbits of Hamlet. You know, even if you had told me before, it wouldn't have really spoiled a lot because I don't have the plot in my head, you know, so it was fine in that sense. We follow a little boy, his name is Amlith, and his father, the king, returns from, I don't know what it was, a big raid, a big campaign, something like that, returns home finally, and unfortunately he gets killed by his brother, so Amlith's uncle, who then takes over the throne, and Amlith flees, vowing to take revenge on him. Now this isn't really a spoiler because this happens in the first 15 minutes of the film. And again, if you know Hamlet, I suppose you will kind of know where the story is going anyway. And this is what it's all about. I mean, that's what it's mentioned. It's in all of the promotional material, you know, they're talking about a Viking revenge story. So obviously, you know from the get-go that something needs to happen that prompts revenge. So here we go. And in the film Amlith, we see him rowing away on a boat with the sort of mantra that he keeps telling himself over and over, which is he will avenge his father, he will save his mother, and he will kill his uncle, you know, and that's essentially what the story is about, you know, so there are no secrets here. They outright tell you this film is going to be this, and that is what it is. So, you know, that is interesting, but we do have, obviously, the mystery of how it all comes together, and that's what keeps it interesting this whole time. We then have a big time jump, and we see Amlith as a grown man. The berserker you see on the posters, you know, fully trained, huge, massive bear, basically. And we see him as an established warrior who joins a band of warriors. He eventually makes his way back home to Iceland, and yes, and then we see his revenge unfold. I won't mention any details about that. That's as far as I'll tell you about the actual plot and how it goes. Again, if you're familiar with Hamlet, I expect you will know some of the story beats. But to me, it was very interesting. I was very excited to see, how is he going to go about this and what's going to happen. One thing I will mention though is that it is rather strange because, revenge, so murder is involved, killing is involved. And to me it was quite funny because they're going about trying to find the killer who they don't know. He does it at the start, he does it in secret. And I'm like, well, who do you think did it? Because he's the only really hulking guy there. It's like, obviously it's this guy, Have you seen him? Arms this size, six pack, always with this really grim expression on his face. So weird. Anyway, but that's just that's just a funny thing that I observed. I thought that was quite interesting. But what makes this film interesting are you have incredible performances, and even from for instance Nicole Kidman. Now I am not, I'm indifferent to her. I've seen her in a lot of things, and I think she's generally likeable. I have never seen her as an amazing actress in terms of, really Oscar-like performances or something like that, which is fine, not everyone needs to be, that's okay. But here, she has a really great performance, that really stood out to me, so I was really amazed by that. I really liked that quite a lot. So she is the mother, she is not killed at the start, so she continues on in this situation, and Amlith wants to save her. And so she gets, one scene in particular is really good. I'm not going to spoil it, and what I like is it also combines very well with what Robert Eggers likes to do, which is he uses a lot of natural lighting. So we have a lot of scenes inside huts and some larger halls as well, so Viking halls, and you just have the fire. That's all that you really have as a light, and this works particularly well in this one scene where it really just enhances the whole thing, so it makes an already really good performance just that much better because the lighting also sort of plays its little tricks on you. But it's not just her, you've got so many great actors in this film. You've got Alexander Skarsgård, of course, and you've got Anya Taylor-Joy, who has cooperated with Robert Eggers previously in The Witch. You've got Willem Dafoe, and the uncle is played by Claes Bang, which I hope I am pronouncing correctly, and he is also great, showing us that there are also a few layers to that character, even though we know him as the baddie from the get-go. So that is definitely one great aspect of this. Great performances throughout. One thing that's really strange to me is the accents they use. So as far as I can tell, we've got a lot of the film set in Iceland, and we've got people from a different Scandinavian country. Now I don't recall them actually mentioning one. If I did, then obviously it flew past me. I think it might be Denmark, I'm not sure. But so we've got different accents happening in this film. I don't know why they just didn't go with an accent-less film. I think it would have been more enjoying. I don't really see the need for this. It's rather strange to me, particularly because you've got some scenes, like for instance, you've got Kate Dickie, who also played in The Witch. She comes in a rather short scene, and she just has her full Scottish accent. So, how does that work? Ethan Hawke is in it as well, and I'm not sure, but I believe I heard some just American, his normal accent come through a bit as well at one point. I'm not sure. So that is a very strange decision. They should have just went with accent less. I just think that would have worked better. So that's a small gripe I have. But the overall feeling of this film is incredible. I particularly enjoyed the first 15 minutes where you're really thrown into this Viking world. Just the atmosphere, the flair of it all is amazing. So we've got these huts and Viking halls, the fire I already mentioned, the natural lighting, and then you've got Viking rituals going on, and you just really feel the whole film. You've got some very creepy scenes as well that are kind of unsettling. You've got some where there's chanting and doing other things where I kind of myself in the cinema felt like I was being put in a trance. So it works really well on that level. You really get to see just these pure raw Vikings and how they get along. But you've got other things as well. It doesn't matter if we're out with a small village and looking over the Icelandic landscape, or we're in these halls that aren't even fully lit because they're so big, and the fire isn't that huge. It doesn't matter what we're watching, or if it's a battlefield, the atmosphere, the look of it all is amazing. And there's one big battle scene. By the way, I thought there would be a lot more fighting in this film, sort of actiony things. So I understood the trailer a bit differently in that sense. There aren't quite as many. There's one kind of big battle. It's when we're reintroduced to Amlith, when he's now a grown man, and we sort of move along with him during this battle. And I really like that. It's really a great seen that thing, because it's also more or less one ongoing take, you know, there aren't edits in it, and that really works so well. The only thing that didn't quite work for me was that the impact didn't feel like they should. You know, I really enjoy when you can feel the pain being dealt to people in films. Here, I just didn't quite feel the impact of the weapons, you know, or strikes, or whatever it was. So that was a bit of a small, really small criticism from me. That and the accents, that's really the only thing I can say about this film, because it just feels great. You really feel like this is what it's supposed to be, a Norse tale, a Norse saga that is being shown to you on screen. That is absolutely what it feels like. So if that's your kind of thing, you really should watch this. So the best summary I can give of this film is, what if we take what is usually a sort of blockbustery film and give it an interesting story, an interesting take, wonderful direction, great atmosphere and landscapes, you know, and give it to Robert Eggers. This is a really great film. I really wish a lot of people go to see this. We need more films like this. It really does feel like an epic tale, although quite a lot of it is rather small in scale, because I mean, most of it plays in just a rather small village, and we're talking at most, it feels like at most 50 or 60 people in this village. So it's not as epic as I expected it to be, but it's fine, it's great. That's not detrimental to the film in any way, so I enjoyed it throughout. Like I say, the look, the atmosphere alone is enough to enjoy this film, and it's just got, it's this, it walks a sort of tightrope of, is it, you know, a real story, or does it have, I mean, it has some kind of fantastical elements in it, makes you unsure, because then the film sort of, you know, pretends and asks, you know, but are you sure it's sort of magical, or is it not, you know, so you're never quite sure. I like that, you know, you're, it could be real, but then again, some things are a bit strange, and there's a lot of fate that, you know, plays a role in this film as well. So if you like that kind of thing, you'll enjoy this a lot. Go and see it. It's on in cinemas now. It is definitely worthy. I do hope it makes a lot. While I do hope that Robert Eggers returns to more of his more unusual stories, because I do feel, I mean, he himself says, you know, he wanted to make a rather mainstream thing. I do believe his area is more in the non-mainstream parts of the film industry, because I really want him to do, you know, as weird as he wants, or as, you know, just as whatever original that he wants, because The Lighthouse to me really was such an incredible film. And it's not for everyone, but that's fine. We've got enough films for everyone, you know. But, you know, if you want a film that does the balance rather well, go and see this one. It's not for the faint of heart though, because it is, you know, quite gritty in that sense, just like Vikings were. You know, there's no sugarcoating happening here. At the same time, there's no forced happy stuff in here, whether it be romance or a happy ending or whatever, what have you. You know, it's not trying to be a lovely cinema tale. It's just trying to be what it is, or what it was in this sense, because it's a Norse tale. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It's the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below if you're going to see the film, if you have seen it, what are your thoughts? Did you enjoy it? What do you think about Robert Eggers sort of dipping his toes into sort of more mainstream cinema? What do you think of that? Have you got other films that you think I should watch? All that please down in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on Flying Wiener. Take care.